Before you ask anyone to be loyal, ask yourself this: why should they be? In this world, loyalty is not born from love. It is purchased with power. The weak beg for devotion, the strong command it. In this video, we will uncover why those who seek loyalty before power always end up betrayed, forgotten, or enslaved by those who never made that mistake. In every age, rulers, leaders, and dreamers have made the same fatal error. They sought the comfort of loyalty before earning the terror of power. They believed affection could replace authority, and admiration could guard them from betrayal. But the truth, my friend, is colder than they wish to see. Loyalty is not the offspring of goodness, it is the shadow cast by strength. People follow power because they must, not because they want to. Tonight, we dissect the anatomy of control, where loyalty is not a virtue to inspire, but a consequence to engineer. You will see how the powerful never chase devotion, they create dependence. And in that dependence, they find the kind of loyalty that never dares to turn its back. Power precedes all allegiance. That is the first law of control, and the most violated by those who wish to rule. Look around you. Every betrayal, every downfall, every shattered kingdom begins the same way: someone mistook affection for obedience. They believed loyalty could exist without power. But tell me, why would anyone stay loyal to the powerless? A man without power is a man without gravity. His promises float in the air, beautiful but meaningless. Consider the rulers of Florence, the kings of France, the generals of Rome. When they lost their armies, their gold, their fearsome reputation, their loyal allies disappeared like mist. Their servants turned to their enemies, their advisors to their rivals. Why? Because loyalty is not a virtue, it is a calculation. People are loyal only as long as it costs them nothing. Once the balance shifts, they obey the stronger side. You see, power is the anchor that keeps loyalty from drifting. Without it, every word of devotion is mere theater, performed by actors waiting for a better role. Let me ask you something personal. Do people follow you because they respect you, or because they need you? That question separates the rulers from the ruled. In human psychology, loyalty is a form of self-preservation. When people serve the powerful, they are protecting themselves. Their allegiance is a shield, a contract of safety. But when that protection fades, when the powerful appear weak, loyalty dissolves instantly. It is not betrayal, it is adaptation. A wise ruler, or even a wise individual, never blames others for their shifting loyalty. They understand that loyalty is not owned, it is rented at the price of authority. History whispers this truth again and again. Think of Caesar. The Senate adored him when he triumphed in war, when his legions made Rome tremble. But the moment his power seemed excessive, they turned their daggers against him. Did they hate Caesar? No. They feared him less than they feared the idea of his permanence. When power becomes uncertain, loyalty mutates into survival instinct. Even in your world, in offices, in friendships, in relationships, the pattern repeats. People stand beside you when you are useful, when your confidence commands attention. The moment you falter, they begin to test your limits. They withdraw respect first, then affection, then presence. It is not cruelty, it is nature. Humans are loyal not to people, but to advantage. If you want to inspire true loyalty, do not appeal to emotion. Build dominance. Build competence. Build the silent understanding that to betray you is to lose something irreplaceable. Power creates that aura, the gravitational field that bends others' decisions around you. Think of it like a hierarchy of planets. The greater your mass, your influence, your command, your control, the more orbits you attract. Remove that mass, and the orbits scatter into chaos. That is why kings fall not when they are hated, but when they are no longer feared. A ruler who rules by affection will always face rebellion. A ruler who rules by power commands silence. Do you understand now why those who seek loyalty before power always end in ruin? They mistake warmth for strength. They mistake companionship for allegiance. They forget that devotion without consequence is nothing more than comfort. Even love, the purest of bonds, withers when stripped of power. In the family, in the empire, in the heart. The one who holds power dictates the rhythm of loyalty. The child obeys the parent because they depend on them. The lover submits to the one who is least desperate. The subject kneels to the sovereign who can destroy, but chooses not to. That is the essence of control, the power to break, withheld by choice. To rule effectively, you must first create the perception that you cannot be replaced, not through arrogance, through necessity. Make yourself indispensable, and even those who despise you will remain loyal, but show weakness, even once, and you will learn how quickly love becomes rebellion. The world does not reward the well-intentioned. It rewards the commanding. Your voice must carry the weight of certainty. Your presence must silence the need for persuasion. Only then will loyalty crystallize, not from affection, but from structure. Power is the architect. Loyalty is the scaffolding it holds in place. When the architect collapses, the structure falls with it. So remember this before you ask for allegiance. Build the foundation that makes it inevitable. Because loyalty without power is a dream. And dreams, in the realm of strategy, are the luxury of the doomed. Now that you understand the hierarchy of control, what happens when you begin to manipulate the cost of loyalty itself? That is where the true art begins. Loyalty is not an emotion, it is a transaction. A contract written not in ink, but in benefit. You may believe that loyalty is built on trust, shared struggle, or noble sentiment, but history, psychology, and power all prove otherwise. People are not loyal to goodness, they are loyal to gain. They follow those who offer advantage, protection, or the illusion of future reward. Remove those, and their loyalty will evaporate like dew under the morning sun. Ask yourself, when someone claims to be loyal to you, what are they gaining by saying so? What do they fear losing if they stop? In truth, loyalty is an investment. Every follower, friend, or ally has placed their faith in you as long as the return exceeds the risk. They are not worshippers of your character. They are shareholders of your strength. This is not cynicism. This is clarity. Consider the mercenaries of the Italian wars. They swore loyalty to whichever prince paid best. They fought not for honor, but for gold. And when the coin stopped flowing, so did their allegiance. Many rulers cursed them for treachery, but the wise ruler never blamed the soldier. He blamed himself for believing loyalty could outlast profit. Even in your time, the principle remains the same. Employees obey not because of passion, but because of payroll. Lovers remain faithful as long as their emotional needs are met. Friends stand beside you until the cost of doing so outweighs the pleasure. The mathematics of loyalty never changes, only the currency does. The greatest rulers understood this economy. They paid for devotion not always in coin, but in power, privilege, or fear. Each person had their price, and the ruler's genius was in knowing it. One man desired gold, another reputation, a third simple survival. You cannot demand loyalty without offering currency, and that currency need not always be tangible. Sometimes, the illusion of opportunity is enough to secure obedience. Promise a man that he will rise with you, and he will defend your power as if it were his own, but fail to reward him and his loyalty curdles into resentment, the most dangerous debt of all. Do you see the pattern? Loyalty is not a flame that burns eternally, it is a lamp fueled by constant supply. When the oil runs dry, the light goes out. The tragedy of many rulers, and of many ordinary people, is believing that loyalty, once earned, remains permanent. They forget that people change their allegiance the way merchants change their market. The wise, therefore, never rely on loyalty. They manage it, they adjust its cost, they control its flow. Psychologically, humans crave security. They will attach themselves to whoever provides the highest sense of certainty. That is why leaders who appear decisive and powerful inspire stronger devotion than those who appear kind but uncertain. Confidence, not compassion, buys commitment. Think of Alexander the Great. His men followed him across deserts and into impossible wars, not because they loved him, but because his victories paid them in glory. His power increased their worth. His conquests elevated their names. Their loyalty was profitable, until it wasn't. When the cost grew too high, when fatigue outweighed ambition, their loyalty fractured. Even the greatest commander cannot defy the economics of human nature. So what does this mean for you? It means that every bond in your life, every ally, every subordinate, every admirer, is governed by an invisible ledger. The entries are not emotional, but transactional. You must ask, what am I providing that keeps this balance in my favor? The weak call this manipulation. The wise call it management. A leader who neglects this economy loses followers to competitors who offer a better deal. And yes, there are always competitors. Even in friendship, even in love. The moment someone else offers more comfort, more advantage, more prestige, your once loyal companion will drift. You can curse human nature, or you can master it. To master it, you must learn to price your loyalty and theirs. Never give it freely. Never expect it freely. Bind loyalty through exchange, not expectation. Reward those who serve you well, punish betrayal swiftly. And above all, make sure the benefits of staying with you always outweigh the cost of leaving. That is how empires endure, not through affection, but through incentive. When you understand this, the world changes shape. You stop begging for loyalty. You start engineering it. You become the market everyone wants to trade with, and the ruler no one can afford to betray. But there is a darker art still, one that does not rely on paying for loyalty at all. Instead, it makes loyalty a necessity, a matter of survival. That is where the next lesson begins: dependency as the root of devotion. Loyalty cannot be demanded, it must be engineered. And the most enduring form of loyalty is not born from admiration. It is born from dependence. When a man depends on you to survive, to thrive, or to maintain his place in the world, you have no need to ask for his loyalty. It will flow naturally, like a river returning to its source. He cannot betray you, because betrayal would mean self-destruction. This is the secret that separates rulers from dreamers, masters from servants. The weak chase affection, the strong create necessity. Ask yourself, who truly controls you? The one you love, or the one you cannot afford to lose? Dependency is the invisible chain that binds even the proudest of souls. It does not require force, only design. You do not have to threaten those beneath you. Merely make their comfort, their advancement, even their sense of identity, hinge upon your presence. The Church understood this well. For centuries it ruled not by sword, but by dependence. It taught that salvation, meaning, and moral order flowed only through its doors. To defy it was not merely rebellion, it was ruin. Men obeyed not from faith alone, but from the terror of losing everything that gave their lives coherence. Do you see how powerful that is? Control the source of meaning, and you command obedience more enduring than any law. Even in modern times, this law has not faded. It has only changed form. The employer who ensures you depend on your paycheck controls your time. The influencer who feeds your self-esteem through approval controls your attention. The lover who alternates between warmth and withdrawal controls your emotions. In each case, loyalty is not love, it is survival. Dependency is the currency of power. To make others loyal, you must give them something they cannot replicate without you. It may be access, influence, opportunity, or even a feeling. The currency differs, but the structure remains. Create reliance, then preserve it carefully. But be warned, dependence must never feel like imprisonment. It must appear voluntary. People must believe they are choosing you freely, even as you quietly eliminate every alternative. That is the art of control without resistance. Consider César Borgia, the Duke of Valentinois, a man whose father's influence gave him armies, territories, and fearsome reputation. When he conquered the Romagna, he built loyalty not through kindness, but through dependence. He removed corrupt nobles but replaced them with administrators loyal only to him. Men whose fortunes, safety, and future rested entirely in his favor. They could not betray him. Their survival was entangled with his success. And when his father died, César's empire collapsed only because his source of power, the papacy, was gone. Dependency cuts both ways. If you build others' loyalty on dependence, you must ensure your own dependence is minimal. The one who depends least rules most. Ask yourself now. In your own life, how many people could function without you? And how many could you not function without? That balance reveals your true position in every relationship. Psychologically, dependency is intoxicating, both for the ruler and the ruled. The one who depends feels safety, while the one who controls feels godlike certainty. But too much dependence breeds resentment, and too little makes disloyalty easy. The true strategist maintains tension, enough security to prevent rebellion, enough need to prevent freedom. It is a delicate equilibrium. The leash must be felt, but never seen. In the politics of influence, this technique appears as indispensability. A master manipulator becomes the person others cannot replace. The problem solver, the gatekeeper, the one whose absence creates chaos. The more irreplaceable you become, the more devoted others appear. Their loyalty is not admiration. It is insurance, and this extends beyond individuals. Nations too are bound by dependence. The great powers ensure their allies remain loyal by keeping them economically and militarily dependent. Aid, protection, technology, each a tool of control disguised as generosity. The dependent state will praise its benefactor publicly, even as it privately resents the imbalance. But resentment without power is harmless. Dependency renders rebellion suicidal. You must learn to replicate this on a personal scale. Do not seek to be loved, seek to be necessary. Love fades. Admiration shifts. But necessity endures. When someone needs you to define their worth, to preserve their comfort, or to protect their illusion of control, they will forgive every cruelty. They will justify every command. They will kneel without realizing they are kneeling. That is not tyranny. That is mastery. But remember, dependency is both armor and poison. If you depend on their loyalty to feel powerful, you become the servant of your own design. Power demands distance. You must build their dependence, but never your own. And when you can walk away while they cannot, that is when you truly rule. Now you understand the architecture of devotion. But how do you prevent the dependent from ever turning against you, even in silence, even in thought? That leads us to the next secret of power, the dangers of premature trust. Trust is a luxury, one reserved for the powerful, never the desperate. To give it too early is to offer your throat before the blade has even been drawn. History is littered with corpses of those who trusted too soon. They mistook smiles for loyalty, kindness for allegiance, and promises for bonds. They believed that sincerity could protect them in a world ruled by interest. But you must understand this. Trust is not a moral act, it is a strategic one. The wise do not give trust as a gift, they use it as bait. Ask yourself, how many times have you trusted someone, not because they proved their loyalty, but because you wanted them to be loyal? How many times did that desire blind you to what they truly wanted? That blindness is fatal. It turns rulers into prey. Even in the courts of princes, the downfall rarely begins with war. It begins with a whisper, a trusted ally, a confidant, a friend, allowed too close, granted too much, too soon. And once inside the circle of confidence, betrayal requires no army, only timing. Look to ancient Rome. Julius Caesar, surrounded by senators he called allies, trusted that fear of him outweighed their envy. But envy left unguarded always multiplies. The daggers that killed him were not held by enemies, but by those he believed would never turn. His mistake was not ambition, it was premature trust. He gave loyalty before it was earned. He shared power before it was secured. He assumed affection could neutralize ambition. And in doing so, he violated the first law of survival: never disarm yourself in the presence of the unproven. You see, trust is not protection. It is exposure. And those who expose themselves too soon, even to the kindest faces, invite destruction. The powerful do not trust quickly. They test. Every ruler, every strategist worth his crown understands this principle. Before granting trust, you must measure obedience. Before handing power, you must observe restraint. Before sharing secrets, you must study silence. Give small responsibilities and watch how they handle them. Observe what they do when unseen. True loyalty is revealed not in words, but in what a person does when there is no reward for doing it. Premature trust is born from impatience, the hunger for partnership, for validation, for relief from isolation. But power is a lonely art. The higher you rise, the more dangerous that hunger becomes. The manipulator understands this well. They mirror your values. They echo your words. They make you believe they understand your cause, your pain, your vision, until your guard falls. And the moment it does, they strike not with force, but with possession. They take your confidence, your secrets, your access, and reshape them into leverage. Psychologically, humans crave trust because it promises safety. But in the realm of power, safety comes not from trust, but from control. When you trust before you control, you hand them the strings to your own fate. Consider again the great alliances of history. Kings who married daughters of rivals, hoping for peace. Generals who shared their battle plans with brothers in arms. Almost every betrayal began with a bond, one that was sealed too early. They believed that trust could transform ambition into loyalty. It cannot. Ambition only sleeps under watchful eyes. Remove those eyes, and it awakens sharper, hungrier, more cunning. Even in modern times, the same law holds true. In business, the knave entrepreneur reveals his strategy to his mentor. In politics, the newcomer confides his vulnerabilities to the veteran. And in the quiet corners of life, someone confesses too much to someone who listens too well. The pattern never changes. Those who trust too quickly are consumed by those who wait. If you must trust, let it be gradual, conditional, and reversible. Let every favor you grant bind the recipient more tightly to you. Let every secret you share serve as a test, not a confession. Do not reveal everything. Reveal enough. Enough to make them believe they hold your confidence. Enough to make them commit to you. When someone thinks they have your trust, they expose themselves far more than if you had demanded it. That is the paradox of power. The appearance of trust creates control, but actual trust destroys it. Those who master this illusion wield a weapon sharper than fear itself: anticipation. When people believe you trust them, they work harder to protect that illusion than you ever could with commands. Never forget. The earliest form of betrayal begins in the heart of the trusting. So let others rush to declare friendship, loyalty, and faith. Let them call you cold, calculating, distant. The cold ruler sleeps soundly. The trusting one dies surprised. True power does not shout. It whispers, and still commands obedience. The greatest rulers, the most cunning manipulators, understood that control does not come from constant assertion, but from presence. The louder a man declares his authority, the less he possesses it. The quieter he stands, the more the world rearranges itself around his will. Ask yourself, why do you obey certain people without question? Why does their silence unsettle you more than another's anger? It is because real authority does not need to prove itself. It simply is. Silent authority is not passivity, it is precision. It is the art of speaking little, revealing less, and making others fill the silence with obedience. Consider the lion and the fox, two symbols of power. The lion roars and intimidates, the fox observes and calculates. But the ruler who combines both knows when silence strikes deeper than sound. Silence can humiliate more than insult, control more than command, and punish more than violence. In the courts of the Renaissance, those who spoke least were feared most. A prince who stayed silent forced others to project their own fears into that silence. Each man imagined his own punishment, his own downfall, his own weakness, and acted to prevent it. Silence becomes a mirror in which others see their own guilt. When you speak less, you give others space to reveal themselves. They rush to fill the void with information, with confession, with flattery. The manipulator listens, not to understand, but to calculate. Every silence gathers intelligence. Every pause draws power. This is the psychology of dominance, control through calm. The human mind craves reaction. When you deny it, you create imbalance. People become desperate to know what you think, to regain emotional stability. And in that desperation, they become predictable. The strong understand this instinctively. They move slowly, speak selectively, and act decisively. The weak mistake this for hesitation until it's too late. Think of a courtroom. The judge speaks few words, yet every word defines fate. The power lies not in volume, but in finality. Or think of the general who commands an army with a single gesture. No shouting, no argument, just the silent weight of authority. Power amplified through silence becomes absolute. History offers countless lessons. When King Philip of Macedon received threats from Sparta, "If we invade, we will destroy you," he replied with one word, "if." That single word held more power than 1,000 speeches. It reduced his enemy's fury to insignificance. You see, silence forces others to interpret you, and people fear what they cannot read. Mystery becomes your armor. Psychologically, this is rooted in dominance hierarchy. The higher an individual's status, the less they feel compelled to explain. The subordinate must speak to prove worth, the superior merely observes. Silence signals superiority. Explanation signals submission. When you find yourself explaining too much, defending your position, justifying your intent, you are losing power. The one who listens and observes controls the frame. Silent authority is not only about withholding words, it is about directing perception. Every action, every pause, every glance must carry intention. You do not need to declare your strength, you must embody it. Even in your personal life, this principle holds. In argument, silence unnerves. In negotiation, it pressures. In relationships, it magnetizes. The one who controls silence controls emotional tempo. But understand this, silence without presence is weakness. To make silence powerful, you must first cultivate weight. That weight comes from self-control, confidence, and consistency. When your silence feels deliberate, not fearful, it becomes unbearable to those who face it. Let others talk themselves into exposure. Let them reveal their ambitions, their insecurities, their schemes. You will find that most people destroy themselves simply because they cannot bear stillness. In a world addicted to noise, the quiet one becomes a mystery, and mystery always commands more power than transparency. Consider how modern power operates. The true masters of influence rarely appear in public. They operate through layers, through intermediaries, through silence. Their absence becomes their signature. The visible rulers are often actors. The real power sits unseen, unspeaking, and unchallenged. That is the essence of silent authority. To rule not through display, but through inevitability. To make your power so integrated into the order of things that it does not need to be defended. When your presence alone alters behavior, you have achieved what armies and speeches cannot command through perception. But do not mistake silence for mercy. The silent ruler still acts. But when he does, it is sudden, precise, and final. His silence beforehand makes his strike feel divine, as if it came from nowhere. Those who rule through words inspire debate. Those who rule through silence inspire awe. So, withdraw your need to explain. Let others doubt, wonder, and whisper. Let their imagination do your work for you. The less they know, the more they fear. And in fear, obedience blooms. Now that you understand the force of silent authority, imagine if you could fuse it with strategy so refined that even silence becomes a weapon of design, is where true Machiavellian mastery begins. Power is never taken openly. It is woven quietly, through influence, perception, and control disguised as trust. Those who seek obedience through force rule for a moment. Those who shape the thoughts of others rule for generations. The highest form of power is not to command. It is to make others choose what serves you, believing it was their own will. That is how you control without chains, dominate without noise, and win without being seen. So ask yourself, are you shaping the game, or merely playing in someone else's design? Every interaction, every alliance, every silence is a test of control. Master these subtle arts, and you no longer chase loyalty or power. You become the gravity that pulls both toward you. If this reflection awakened something cold and strategic within you, leave your thoughts below. Subscribe for more lessons in Machiavellian psychology, and share this with those who still believe control requires cruelty, so they may learn that true domination needs only understanding.